Talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see. Compassion is the basis of morality. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone, and if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom, for it is only when he is alone that he is really free. Mostly it is loss which teaches us about the worth of things. The assumption that animals are without rights and the illusion that our treatment of them has no moral significance is a positively outrageous example of Western crudity and barbarity. Universal compassion is the only guarantee of morality. Every man takes the limits of his own field of vision for the limits of the world. Happiness consists in frequent repetition of pleasure. It is difficult to find happiness within oneself, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else. They tell us that suicide is the greatest piece of cowardice. That suicide is wrong, when it is quite obvious that there is nothing in this world to which every man has a more unassailable title than to his own life and person. Every miserable fool, who has nothing at all, of which he can be proud, adopts as a last resource pride in the nation, to which he belongs. He is ready and happy to defend all its faults and follies tooth and nail, thus reimbursing himself for his own inferiority. One should use common words to say uncommon things. Compassion for animals is intimately associated with goodness of character, and it may be confidently asserted that he who is cruel to animals cannot be a good man. Man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills. The art of not reading is a very important one. It consists in not taking an interest in whatever may be engaging the attention of the general public at any particular time. When some political or ecclesiastical pamphlet, or novel, or poem is making a great commotion, you should remember that he who writes for fools always finds a large public. A precondition for reading good books is not reading bad ones, for life is short. That when you're buying books, you're optimistically thinking, you're buying the time to read them. Life is a constant process of dying. We forfeit 3/4 of ourselves in order to be like other people. A sense of humor is the only divine quality of man. We will gradually become indifferent to what goes on in the minds of other people when we acquire a knowledge of the superficial nature of their thoughts, the narrowness of their views, and of the number of their errors. Whoever attaches a lot of value to the opinions of others pays them too much honor. A high degree of intellect tends to make a man unsocial. It is a wise thing to be polite, consequently, it is a stupid thing to be rude. To make enemies by unnecessary and willful incivility is just as insane a proceeding as to set your house on fire. For politeness is like a counter, an avowedly false coin, with which it is foolish to be stingy. If children were brought into the world by an act of pure reason alone, would the human race continue to exist? Would not a man rather have so much sympathy with the coming generation as to spare it the burden of existence, or at any rate not take it upon himself to impose that burden upon it in cold blood? It would be better if there were nothing. Since there is more pain than pleasure on earth, every satisfaction is only transitory, creating new desires and new distresses, and the agony of the devoured animal is always far greater than the pleasure of the devourer. Treat a work of art like a prince, let it speak to you first. Religion is the masterpiece of the art of animal training, for it trains people as to how they shall think. Great men are like eagles and build their nest on some lofty solitude. So the problem is not so much to see what nobody has yet seen, as to think what nobody has yet thought concerning that which everybody sees. To feel envy is human, to savor Schadenfreude is devilish. Faith is like love, it does not let itself be forced. We seldom think of what we have, but always of what we lack. If we were not all so interested in ourselves, life would be so uninteresting that none of us would be able to endure it. Wealth is like seawater, the more we drink, the thirstier we become, and the same is true of fame. Almost all of our sorrows spring out of our relations with other people. There is no more mistaken path to happiness than worldliness. Change alone is eternal, perpetual, immortal. The safest way of not being very miserable is not to expect to be very happy. Every parting gives a foretaste of death, every reunion a hint of the resurrection. The life of every individual, viewed as a whole and in general, and when only its most significant features are emphasized, is really a tragedy, but gone through in detail, it has the character of a comedy. Buying books would be a good thing, if one could also buy the time to read them, but as a rule, the purchase of books is mistaken for the appropriation of their contents. Life swings like a pendulum backward and forward between pain and boredom. The person who writes for fools is always sure of a large audience. No rose without a thorn, but many a thorn without a rose. Hope is the confusion of the desire for a thing with its probability. Sexual passion is the cause of war and the end of peace, the basis of what is serious, and consequently the concentration of all desire. We can regard our life as a uselessly disturbing episode in the blissful repose of nothingness.